Good evening, Nigerians, and welcome to a new week. It's a wonderful Sunday evening here. I don't know where you are and where you are tuning in from. We are coming to have a wonderful discussion this evening, and I hope that you're going to enjoy our discussion. I also pray that we're going to have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful week ahead. We're back to Nigeria situation, Nigeria discussion. And tonight we are coming in a form of warning to us. We want to raise an awareness. We want to warn Nigeria that there is a part the current government, the current presidency, and the political party that is in power in Nigeria, APC, there is a grand plan to completely take Nigeria hostage and take us through a path that we are not even imagining. Somehow or the other, many Nigerians are talking about, oh, they want to buy presidential yachts. They want to buy themselves 160 million naira worth of land cruisers. They are rebuilding their houses. That is true. The corruption and the embezzlement and the insensitivity of those in power, despite what we are going through, is true. But much more than that, there is a grand plan that is even longer than we can imagine. Something that if they are not stopped, if we don't raise awareness ahead of time, if they succeed, our own children will be suffering from it. Already, we and our children are suffering from the debts they have brought upon us, but that will be a piece of cake compared to the grand plan that APC and the current government have in plan. And how do we mean? Before we start, we also need to let us know we're going to touch some other things. This week is going to be a very big week politically or judicial sense because the appeal court is going to be delivering judgment, I think, tomorrow in the case of APC versus NMPP, the governorship challenge in Kano State. The same tomorrow, the appeal court sitting in Lagos will listen to the motions of the PDP and Labour Party in the case of governorship challenge in Enugu State. And this week too, Hope Uzodinma may prove that whether we care or we don't care, whether there is from EC8 or no EC8, he can make himself governor. Or the people of Imo State might say, we are taking our states back. So it's a very busy week, and we're going to be touching on all these things if we have time to spare this night. So sit back where you are, enjoy yourself, and let's have a wonderful discussion this night. As we talk, please ask your questions, make your contributions. If we have time, we respond to it as we usually do. Let me hand over to Ifeoma in case she has something to say before we start flowing. Thank you.
Yes, Doc. Thank you very much. We'll be going straight to the subtopics that I want to discuss. Or I just want to say that recently the president had like something like a retreat with the ministers, and they were like saying this is what they really want to do. I listened to somebody that was interviewed, and he said when they were asked, they told them that the source of whatever money they want to put into the economy is going to, the source of the money is going to be from borrowing. So when you look at what is happening in Nigeria, it appears our leaders are not even the kind of trying to be a bit creative, if I might use that language, because Shehu was talking, he was like asking the person that was being interviewed, does it mean there is no creativity? For years now, it's only during this last election that Peter Obi was talking about moving Nigeria from consumption to production. Does it mean that our leaders are not being creative? And then he made mention of the only source of, will I say the key source of revenue, which is oil, that we are blessed with these resources, but we don't know how to like manage it, where we don't have refineries. When we get them, we have to export and then bring them back again to the country. We are like, mismanaging whatever is supposed to come out from that natural resources that God has given to us. So from the look of things, this government has not even put its thoughts together on how to start rescuing Nigeria from the current mess. So we are going to be looking at all this and why Nigeria is like sliding the more instead of, being pulled out from this mess, because they told us that they are going to hit the ground running. We are yet to see that. So we are going to be touching different areas as regards to this government and the way they are managing Nigeria as a country. So Doc, back to you.
Yeah, thank you. To give a little input to what you've just said, I summarize your thoughts as it has to do with our microeconomy as a country. What do you expect them to do? They didn't come to improve Nigeria. Right from 2015, APC never came to improve Nigeria. It started from 2015. When the government took over in 2015, it took about 6 months for them to even form, get a federal executive council, appoint ministers. And this is someone who has been contesting for presidency since 2003. 2003 to 2007 is 4 years. 2007 to 2011 is 12 years. 2011 to 2015 is 12 years. Someone has been contesting actively for presidency and even unleashed blood on Nigeria when he failed in 2011. Yet he became president in 2015, and it took him 6 months plus to appoint ministers. Simply means that there was no plan to improve Nigeria, no plan to govern. They were just there to plunder, to loot, and you can see the trajectory. You can plot the graph, and you see that from 2015 till date, the graph has been going down economically, wealth-wise, development-wise, and everything. Take a look at Naira from 180 to almost 1,280 before it starts doing whatever it's doing. From 180 to 1,200. Put it there. Take a look at our roads. They use their mouth. Their senator, who has been in power with them for years now, use their mouth to say that the roads are not motorable, to the extent that if he does not have a Land Cruiser, he cannot drive from Abuja to Kogi State. Okay, we had them again coming to, they didn't plan, they didn't come to govern, they came to enrich themselves. And so what do they need creativity for when there is enough for them to put in their pocket at the expense of Nigerians? So I don't expect much from them. Let me give you a typical empirical example. Look what happened, what is currently happening in Abia State, and relate it with other people who have been in power. From 1999 in Abia State, for 24 years, PDP was governing Abia State. And look at what Abia State was like. And just take a look at a government that took over 6 months. 29th May will make it 29th of this month, I suppose, will make it 6 months. And see the input, see the impact. It's becoming a reference point for all governors now. All right? And that's to tell you that the person came to govern. The person came to govern. Look at Rivers State. The economy of Rivers State is bigger than the economy of some African countries. Look at Delta State. What do we have to show for 24 years? Nothing, because the people went there to plunder, to enrich themselves, and to plant their own puppets there before they left power. So I am surprised that we are thinking of that. There is no ingenuity, there is no creativity, because the people are not their concern. Their pocket and their family and their comfort is their concern. If not, why should we be renovating Dodam Barracks, where Babangida lived before he relocated to Abuja? What do we need it for? Yes, it is a national asset, but is it necessary now? Must we be renovating the presidential building inside Dodam Barracks within the same Nigeria? If the president decided to travel from Abuja to Lagos, can't the DSS and the security and the military and the police and the DSS go and make sure that they form a perimeter fencing defense in his private residence? Didn't Peter Obi leave his house for Basanjo when he came to Anambra State? That's a man that wanted to improve. They told him to build a presidential lodge in Anambra State. He said no. When the president comes to Anambra State, he's not coming to live. He's only going to spend 1 or 2 days. Therefore, if he comes, P2B left his own house and Obasanjo stayed there. He checked into a hotel. And when the man went back, he moved back to his own house. All the vehicle they asked him to bring, he said no, he crossed over to Asaba and borrowed the vehicle from Delta State and made President Obasanjo use it. That's creativity. But now they want to renovate a house in Lagos in case the president decides to live there, maybe 100 days out of, maybe 10 days out of 365 days in a year. Maybe 30 days out of 48 months.
Or 1 week.
No, let's just say 30 days, 1 month out of 48 months. And they're going to go waste those billions there. That's because they don't care for you. They don't care. They want to buy a presidential yacht in the same country where people are literally eating their skin. That's because they don't care for you. They really don't care. So let us move away from this microeconomy to what is really happening in terms of, like, as I said, if we keep on saturating our mind with this, we will not even notice the bigger thing that they are planning. What is the bigger thing that they are planning? Let's look at it this way. Already, the judiciary has been captured. It's in their pocket. We know that. We are going to play a video today that will justify this claim to summarize it. Last week, they started appointing new resident electoral commissioner. We discussed it here. And these are like the INEC commissioners in states. And how is it coming? Wike's boy, someone, I don't know if we still have the picture, someone who we can see as far back as this election this year, wearing the picture of Fubara and Wike, is the person they want to appoint the resident electoral commissioner for which state? For
Akwa Ibom and Rivers.
No, Rivers State. And now someone who was the chief of staff to Akpabio from 2015 to 2019, his chief of staff, and whom we can see all over Nigeria wearing APC regalia, is being appointed as the resident electoral commissioner for Akwa Ibom State. Okay. Now, sometime last year, when they were trying to appoint the resident electoral commissioner for Imo State, people complained that that lady is a card-carrying member, is a member of APC. But Buhari didn't listen, appointed her. So what does that mean? The woman who is the resident electoral commissioner in Imo State is Hope Uzodinma's staff or servant or lackey or puppet. The person who will become that of Rivers State, which they have cleared without even due diligence, is that of Wike. The person who will become the one of Akwa Ibom is that of Akpabio. And of course, former governor of Rivers State, Amechi, said that Mahmoud was personally handpicked, that Mahmoud was Tinubu's boy, that it was Tinubu that picked Mahmoud and give to Buhari and say, make him the INEC chairman. Okay? So the national belongs to the president. The states belongs to the governors. Are you getting the scheme now? Now, these are the people, the moment they declare any election in any state, it will take the judiciary to do what? To change it. The same judiciary is in their pocket. And if you make noise, they will unleash the law enforcement agency on you. And we have seen what happened between DSS and the correctional services in Lagos to tell you that they don't even care what the court says. What they want to do is what they will do. In the case of MFL, you can see how they picked the former INEC chairman and just discharge him at will when they feel like, without even telling us what he did, why they arrested him, and why they freed him. They don't owe you that explanation. So the law enforcement agency is in their pockets. One, the INEC that determines who becomes is in their pocket. The legislature that will amend the constitution they are the legislature. So they won't amend the constitution. They will leave it loose like this. The judiciary is under their control. And where are they going? They want to hold Nigeria hostage and make it impossible for any other political party or any other interest that does not align with their model to come and govern this country in the foreseeable future unless an intervention occurred. How do I mean? Now, remember that the president, even before the election, during the electioneering campaign, and immediately after election, he kept frequenting one Western country. Which Western country is that? France. He traveled to France more than he had traveled to Britain, even though the Britain was our former colonial master. He traveled to France more than he had traveled to US. Of course, you know he's not popular in US because of his history. So France is the place he kept going. So I could term him as a student of French neo-colonial political model. And what do I mean? We will give you an example with what is happening in some countries where the leaders are students of French neo-colonial, post-colonial, post-colonial political model. I will show you. This is Paul Biya of Cameroon. Now, Paul Biya of Cameroon has been the prime minister of Cameroon from 1975 to 1982. That is about 12 years as a prime minister. And then he took over in 1982 and converted the system to become a presidential system. And he has been the president of Cameroon from 1982 till date. He is backed, he is supported, he is covered by the French government. Any disturbance there, the French army is there to rescue him, to fight anybody who stand against him. Before we come to Togo, let's finish with Cameroon. Now, if you check the total number of years Paul Biya have been in power, Paul Biya have been in power in Cameroon is a total of 48 years. 48 years. Now, the president does not govern alone. He will have the judiciary. He will still have the law enforcement agency. He will have all this, as it were, working with. All of them are in the team. He's their head. They're all benefiting. Because if he is alone, he would have been removed. The judiciary must be in support of him. The army must be in support of him. The civil society must be singing his praise. And if you raise opposition, they will crush you. Just as we will show you the picture of what happened to our NLC president, the way they crushed him, and is trying to use him as an example that anybody who comes to disturb them, they will not pity him. That is our NLC president. That is him. This is the head of almost all the labor bodies in Nigeria put together. And this is what they did to him in Imo State to prove to you, all you civil society, all you labor organizations, if you come our way, we will not stop you. That's what they are doing to civil society in Cameroon. That's why everybody shut their mouth. Okay, so Paul Biya has been in power for 48 years. Let's go to Equatorial Guinea or Togo, whichever one that comes first now. Now, this is Togo. In Togo, this Inasimwe has been in power since 2005 till date. That is 18 years. After he took over from his father, when his father died in 2005, his father had been in power since 1967 till 2005, meaning the father and son had been in power for 56 years from 1967 till date. This family and this government is still being covered by French. They are covered, they are protected, they are fine. If you disturb them, French will come for you. The military will come for you. All their assets are in French. They are using French currency and things like that. Okay, let's go to Equatorial Guinea, the last one. Just 3 samples from Africa. Now, Equatorial Guinea, who do we have there? We have this is Togo again, please. This is Togo again. Did I give you Equatorial Guinea? Okay, if I didn't give you Equatorial Guinea, then in Equatorial Guinea, the man who is in Equatorial Guinea has been there since 1979. That is the what's that their name? Ngueme, the Nguema family. They have been there since 1979 today. In fact, his son, who is all over Instagram, enjoying his yachts, showing his jewelries and what have you, is the vice president. His father is the president. And his father has been in power since 1979 till date. What is common with all these countries? They have been the colonies of either Spain or France. And those colonial masters are in support of them. You can't disturb them. You can't trouble them. The judiciary has been crushed, put in their pockets. They all claim to run democracy. Election is held, one person wins. Just like what we are beginning to see in Nigeria now, with all the bastardization of our economy for the past 8 years by APC. They told us that they won in election and that they won in courts. All these countries, people go to court to challenge them. They will win in the field, they will win in courts. Of course, you know the one they just removed now from Gambia. Is it not Gambia? What's the name of the one that they just removed last 2 months? Forgotten his name.
Gabon.
The Gabon. It was the same family for almost 46 years. Took over from his father, was not planning to get off the power. And it is still French colony. And they tell you that they've won the election. It's the case. We have won the election. We have won the election. We have won the election. That's what they keep doing. Okay? Now, check the economy of all these nations. They're all plunging down, dependent on France, because the presidents and those in power, their life is flamboyant, their life is rich, they are getting everything they want at the expense of the country. So they are sharing the country with the colonial master at the expense of all the other people. Now, why do I say that the APC and the current government is trying to take us to this part? By the time they make INEC Resident Electoral Commissioner in the 36 states, they are party members. It means that APC will be winning in the 36 states. Already, it is the instruction they give the judiciary that the judiciary will take, because the judiciary themselves are corrupt, so they can't afford to say no. There's no integrity in them. And of course, the army, the police, the DSS will be there unleashed to shut the mouth of anybody. And if you dare try the civil society, oh, we are rioting, oh, we are sitting down, oh, you know what happens in NSAS, and you can see what happened to the NLC president. So Nigerians, let us be warned. We need to begin to ask ourselves, how do we move on from here, and what do we do? Let's play that judiciary audio or video for them. It's important. When I keep saying judiciary captured, let us see my reason for the capturing of the judiciary.
How bad do you think was he able to speak to the extent of the kind of corruption you think exists in the judiciary? I mean, if there is corruption in the judiciary, thinking that it's even at the highest level of the holiest of the holies of Nigerian judiciary, the apex court, the Supreme Court, where we all bow to as the last hope of the masses.
Now, Sean, if I may, let me remind you, or remind all of us, or those who are watching, when he retired from the Supreme Court in 2004, that's nearly 20 years ago. The Honorable Justice Samson Owaifo, who is still alive, had complained that in the 70s and 80s, allegations of judicial corruption were confined to the magistracy, and that by the 90s, it had appeared to have climbed up to the High Court. And by the time he was retiring, he was afraid that it had got to the appellate level. He also said something else, that at the time he was leaving, people who did not present with the intellectual capabilities for success at the legal profession were being appointed to the judiciary at the High Court. And he feared that these inadequate people were going to rise to the cream of the appellate court system in a short time. In 2011, if you may remember, the story broke, two stories actually. One was the quarrel between the then president of the Court of Appeal and the then Chief Justice over allegations that the then Chief Justice sought to instruct the Court of Appeal as to how to decide the case relating to the dispute relating to the governorship election then in Sokoto State. That ultimately led to the firing of the president of the Court of Appeal, and the Chief Justice then retired under a cloud. In that same year, the then Speaker of the House of Representatives was credited in a cable transmitted by the American ambassador then of having told the American ambassador that the Supreme Court collected money to decide the appeal in respect of the 2007 presidential election. I'm not making this up. All of this is in writing. All of this is evidenced in writing. So
now, Nigerians, did you hear it? He just concluded by saying all these things are in writing. That the president of Court of Appeal was removed because the Chief Justice wanted him to make sure that the decision of the Court of Appeal goes in a certain direction. A man who is the chairman of the National Judicial Council, this and that, as Datiju told us, wanted the other hierarchy of the judiciary, president of the Court of Appeal, to make sure that the case of Sokoto State Governorship Tribunal, an appeal that was with them, goes in a certain way, meaning that the person they want to rule in his favor in Sokoto had bought over a man that is the Chief Justice of the Federation. And the Chief Justice of the Federation was now giving instruction to the President of the Court of Appeal on how the outcome will be. As at that particular time in 2011, if my memory serves me right, the governorship election tribunal ends at the appeal court, just like the National Assembly. It doesn't go to the Supreme Court. It is from 2015 that it started going to the Supreme Court, meaning that the Supreme Court now felt like, okay, there is no need we quarreling with these boys at the appeal court level. Whatever they do, Shebi, we are waiting. When they come here, we will go into our technical box, we will produce the outcome that we want. That's what it means. And that is why the only cases that ends in the Supreme Court now are the cases of governorship and presidential. And what is special about these two people? These are the two political positions with fat, very fat pockets. From federal allocation, a governor can say, 2-month federal allocation, I'm going to hand everything to you, just make me governor. Do you understand what I mean? So there was that squabble between the chief judge and the president of the Court of Appeal, because the chief judge, who is the head of the Judicial Council and the head of the Supreme Court and the head of NJC and everything, wanted the outcome of a certain governorship election tribunal to end in a certain way. What did that tell us? What did that tell us? And this thing was found on a cable that was transmitted to the US, according to what this person is saying here. Let's continue.
I'm just telling you what I'm giving you a tale of the tape. And so what the Honorable Justice Datijo Muhammad talked about basically reflects a trend that has itself been fully documented, and the timeline has been reflected in the history of remarks by retiring justices of the Supreme Court over the past 20 years.
Okay, before he comes in again, now remember that the last time we were here, we talked on the issue of judiciary. We featured Olisa Obakova's video where they were asking him this corruption they are talking about, them appointing their children, their relatives, and co. Is it true? He said it's true, but he will not mention name, even though he knows them. That not only do they appoint their people, they even come with fictitious names. Can you believe it? That they come with fictitious names. Now, these people that have already corrupted themselves, can't you see that they will be a willing tool in the hand of the executive? Secondly, Shegun started by saying, it's like this corruption in judiciary is happening from the highest level. It's a top-down thing. It's not even a bottom-up thing. And he used the word, the holy of holies of judiciary. So if the corruption, the fish, as they say, have started getting rotten from the head, what else? So everything is in the works. All it takes is for an executive to spot that weakness in that arm and then call someone and say, I'm going to make you the Inspector General of Police. This is where we are going. If not, I fire you. I will make you the Chief of Army Staff. This is where we are going. If not, I fire you. So the law enforcement agents are there to enforce whatever they desire. The judiciary that has been bought over will be there to gavel whatever they have said. And they own the legislature too. So they will make the law to suit their purpose. Is it not true? Let's continue with this guy.
I like to say this with all sense of modesty and all sense of loyalty and also sense of patriotism, that the courts are hallowed in every sense of the word, and the courts are indeed the last hope of the common man. That's where you can run for cover if you have any issue. In fact, any arms of God, the arms of government, they have issues, they go to the court for settlement. Without the court, our society will be in trouble, in chaos. But then, if this kind of thing is happening, and the kind of expose that we've seen about some corrupt judges, which some of their colleagues or some members of the bar have said, and some kind of insinuation and inference that have come up about corrupt judges, because there are corruption in every aspect of our lives, not only in Nigeria, but everywhere. But where you do not want to hear that the corruption exists is in the courtroom. How do we deal with this?
Well, first of all, we deal with it by acknowledging it honestly. And I do not agree with you in the spirit of honesty that Nigerian courts today are the last hope of the common man or woman. If you had said the courts should be the last hope of the common person, I would agree.
Are things that bad, Prof?
Are they today the
Are
last
things that
hope
bad?
of the
Is it that our
yes,
courts
sir.
not? I mean, we're not able to rely on our courts. Are things so bad within the bench?
Yes, they are. I'm not going to come here to lie to you. The courts should be the last hope of the common person. I will agree with you. Are Nigerian courts today the last hope of the common person? No, sir. We cannot be honest with ourselves if we cannot admit that the Chief Justice swearing in his son as High Court, appointing his son and swearing him in is a problem. We cannot be honest if we don't agree that the President of the Court of Appeal, sitting in the NJC, approving appointment for her son-in-law and approving appointment for the daughter is a problem. the least they can do is that when these things come up, they recuse themselves. Okay? That is the least they can do. Because being a judge is not a family inheritance. Being a judge is not a sexually transmitted condition. Husbands don't inseminate their wives with judgeships. Men don't inseminate their mistresses with judgeships in the bedroom. I am sorry. We have to be brutal with ourselves. This has got too far. And every time I say this, I get abused. But I'm going to insist on keep saying it because the stakes are too high. The issues are too important. Ordinary people are being ruined by this. And we cannot continue to pretend as if we don't know that this is a problem. Now we are hearing it from the judges themselves. So it's not rabble-rousers like me saying this anymore. And saying, now, I started saying this over nearly 25 years ago. I quarreled with Justice Ebuebo because at that point, for those whose memories go that far back, Justice Ebuebo, I kept pressing on his case and on his neck until he was retired compulsorily. But that was the beginning of the problem. Now we have an epidemic. And yes, it has got up to the Supreme Court. And we have to acknowledge that if you have a judicial system in which judges of the Supreme Court are saying that the Supreme Court is itself in a problem, then you have a credibility crisis. It can no longer be described as the last hope of the common man. We have to address it.
So now,
okay, let's come in.
I'm hoping to understand where.
Now, what else do we need to know that it's more like, let me explain it how I feel like. What has happened to Inspector General of Police with all the mess they have done, many of them, they retire with their corruption and they go. Somebody was saying, why is this current government not probing all the people who steal our oil money and go? No. It's a settlement system. It's a settlement system. So the law enforcement agencies are there. Settle yourself when you're in the office. Collect all your budgets. If you like, allow them to kill themselves in Zamfara or in whatever. Just collect the money for the budget. The judiciary is more like, open your eyes, settle yourself. If you're retiring, put your children. But don't ever bother us in the executive with what we are doing. Now, the top boys are now saying, President, if you want our support, any space for the resident electoral commissioner that appears in any state, I am the big boy of the state. I'm going to bring my boy because I want to keep my own structure. The structure has moved from gathering political thugs. The structure has moved up now to the big boys in the state owning INEC in the state. And they are telling the presidency, hypothetically, if you give me my boy who will deliver my own interest, I will also deliver your own interest. Let's look at an empirical case. How can APC win presidency in Rivers and the same APC trash their own in governorship? Can you imagine that? The same APC trounced their own candidate in the governorship, yet won in the presidential and won every other office, House of Assembly, every other office, House of Representative, senatorial, all went to PDP, presidency, all went to APC. It's because someone is saying, make the INEC person in my state my puppet. I will deliver your interest as long as you don't interfere with my own interest. So these people will become the generals that owns the states. They supply whatever the national wants and they maintain their ground. That's the direction Nigeria is going. And you can see that they're doing it with passion, with speed, and without concern. And the judiciary, you can see how messy things are there. How messy things are there. You have heard this man, Chidi Odinkalu, said once that some people they appointed to the bench, many of them did not even as much as write the qualifying exam. They appointed them, not minding that there are those who wrote the exams and who passed the exams. So some people who wrote and passed the exams are at home like this, sitting, not being on the bench. People who didn't write are calling the shots. He also said in the other instance that there were people who failed the exams and they picked them ahead of those who passed. So there are people who passed, they are sitting, and those who failed are ruling over them. What is that? Where is that taking us to? They want to make it obvious to the judiciary that we have allowed you to settle yourself. You must always support us. Because they've made themselves vulnerable, they can't challenge the executive because the executive have their dossier. All they need to do is to pull it and the pack of cards will collapse. So technically speaking, the judiciary has become the puppet of the executive by first and foremost corrupting themselves. Of course, we've heard about this particular, this is another direction, the insecurity. It says ex-governor Matawale distributed Hilux vans to bandits, killing, kidnapping, raping citizens, but didn't invest in public transport. You know, there was someone who was saying, I think former chief of army staff, that was saying that the past government, I don't know if we have that slide, didn't do much to curb insecurity in Nigeria. It's understandable. I am surprised that the person who said it was actually the person who was the chief of army staff for almost 9 years. No, I'm sorry, for almost 7 years. He was the chief of army staff for almost 7 years. Brutal. Insecurity created by Nigerian politicians. National Assembly tried derailing democracy under Buhari. Who are the politicians? Could one of these politicians he's referring to be the governor of Zamfara State, former governor of Zamfara State? That's the question Nigeria need to ask.
Or even the president.
Or could it be the president, who is the chief security officer of Nigeria, the commander-in-chief of the armed forces? If it is the president, why didn't president declare state of emergency in all those northern states where our children are kidnapped, raped, and maimed, and married off to bandits? How come it is now, after he has left power, that we are hearing that the former governor of Zamfara State were buying vehicles and giving to bandits who are raping and maiming and killing people? And why is the former chief of army staff telling us this now? Why now? Because he has settled himself? Are we to clap for Brutai? Is it possible for us to actually clap for him and say, oh, you're revealing the truth? Remember that when Buhari removed him after people have cried, he removed him and made him ambassador. He removed him and made him ambassador. Some people say that Buhari did it to make sure he didn't keep them closer so that they won't topple his government. So he sent them away. But that in itself is another promotion. That's why he's talking in between line. Nigerian politicians created insecurity. National Assembly, see, he blamed politicians generally and zeroed it to National Assembly to excuse his boss that kept him in power for almost 7 years. Tell it to the wind, please.
So, Doc, I have a question because I'm just like thinking that fixing Nigeria is really going to be a very hard task because of the way people are being appointed to, various offices. When you look at the judge that just retired, it was at the point of him leaving office that he decided to unveil some of the corruption that has been going on in the judiciary, especially at the Supreme Court level. So he has been there for this long. We know, I think they stayed there for like 35 years. I mean, the service years, the number of years you are supposed to be in active service, 35 years. he had to like deal with all these things and kept mum. He was quiet until when he was about leaving office. He decided to like open up. Now we have this man who was the chief of army staff. We saw what insecurity did to Nigeria during the Buhari's era. And people were like, sack this man, and other security chiefs. Buhari didn't want to sack them. Okay, now he's coming out to tell us that the politicians are the reason or the brain behind the kind of insecurity we are having in Nigeria. Why is he saying it now? Why wasn't he bold enough to come forward and say, okay, look at the people who are causing Nigeria who are bringing insecurity to Nigeria, so that these people can be probed, and then Nigeria will then know who is the cause of some of the challenges we are going through. Now that he's saying it, of what relevance it is, and he has not even made mention of anybody's name. He's just saying that it's being created by politicians. Why now? Why now? So I think we really have this problem of sanitizing our institutions, building strong institutions where people will be so independent, the executive will not have you in their pocket. You'll be able to do the right thing. I don't know why Africa, let me just use Africa, is so different from, the Western world. Because if it was to be in the Western world, you find out that people will not take they will not take anything that you just present to them. Any slightest mistake, you are going in for it. Any slightest mistake. Here in Austria, the former prime minister that left, he's been, they are dragging him now, just for some minor things, and it appears he will jail. You know, they don't take anything, they don't take anything. The kind of things Africa accommodates, I tell you, here in the Western world, they don't. So you find out that our problem is even bigger than we imagine, than we think. And I'm just wondering how long it's going to take to fix
Yeah,
Nigeria, because these are politicians. They are not ready to they are
yeah,
not ready to say, okay, I resign because I'm incompetent, or I resign because I know I can't fix the things I promised I was going to do. Look at the current government now. They've come in, things are getting worse. They are not even like holding press conference. They are not talking to Nigerians. They are not telling us what they are doing. As in, people are just like, there's confusion everywhere. The ordinary man is just the only person feeling it, because you have to like work hard to feed your family, work hard to pay house rent, school fees, and all that. But these government officials, they care not, because they use taxpayers' money to eat. They use taxpayers' money to fuel their cars, their fleets. They will just feel it. It doesn't matter the amount of money that is being spent. So they don't even understand what we are going through. And when it comes to policy, they will be the one to make it, for their own gain and to the detriment of the Nigerian people. So, Doc, a lot of things are going on. And since it is difficult to get the right people into office in Nigeria, I don't think Nigeria's struggle is going to end very soon. And having the kind of judiciary that we have, that can be easily manipulated, easily influenced, the giving justice to who justice belongs, is very difficult in Nigeria. With this kind of judgment that they gave, honestly, I just wonder how this Nigeria is going to, be restored, if at all we have any chance of getting back on our feet. So back to you, Doc.
you have a point there. I believe that, I still say it has never been like this in the history of Nigerian politics. When I said that P2B won 2/3, it may be hard to believe, but that's true. The first was he won by triggering the consciousness and the awareness of young Nigerians to what is happening. Secondly, he also won by going to court to challenge his mandate, which was denied, but which he used as an opportunity to expose the rot in our judiciary. He ended up not sitting in the peak office to govern. But these two would outlive him even if he had been the president. So this thing he has triggered, and it's not something that is going to end. Election has come, election has gone. But look at us, we're here talking. Ask yourself, when did this platform start? It was Peter Obi that triggered this platform. And many others today, that the judiciary is panicky because they are being called out. The executives are changing, transferring money. Okay, we're not going to buy the yacht again. We're going to divert it to students. Oh, no, it has been delivered. It's just because people are calling them out. The so-called Chicago State University back and forth that was revved up in this year, he had been there. Ganifa with me had been pursuing it since 1999. But the speed and the impetus it gathered now is something else. All thanks to the mantra of go and verify, courtesy P2B. So I believe that something has started, and I believe it will continue. It's not near, but it is not nothing. To be honest, it is not nothing. The awareness is strong. The consciousness is there. Yes, the politicians habitually, they are imposters. They are embezzlers. It's not easy for them to emancipate themselves. And that's why they're trying to see how they can double up and succeed themselves in the way we are talking. I mean, look at after 2011 or 2014, according to 2004, yes, when the judge, the judge that retired mentioned the degradation in our judiciary. It took almost how many years? Almost 19 years or 20 years for another judge to talk in a very strong term, specifically mentioning the corruption by name. The other one spoke generally, Osifo, I think Osifo, he spoke generally, oh, I am seeing a degradation, this. But this one talked verbatim. This is what they do. This is how they do it. This is the system we are in. And whether they like it or not, the judiciary is panicked. The kind of eyes that are prying into what they're doing has never been like this before. The same thing with judiciary. They will get tired faster. We are just beginning. We're just beginning. You know, and that brings us maybe finally to the judiciary and their this thing and their judgment. Tomorrow, we don't know what is coming out of Kano. Based on what Chidiodin Kalu just said now, only God knows, because the former governor of Kano State is quarreling with the current governor of Kano State. And that former governor of Kano State is now APC chairman. Okay. Remember that the current chief judge of this state of the federation is their paddy. We don't know the instruction or the gunje he has been given. We don't know the quarrel that is between him and the president of the Court of Appeal. Or thirdly, they may say, no problem, let Court of Appeal do whatever they want to do, because the governorship tribunal election litigations goes all the way to Supreme Court. So no matter what we hear tomorrow, that's not the end. It's just 2 out of 3 steps to knowing who will finally be the governor. After everything that may happen tomorrow in Kano, the Supreme Court will still hear it. I pray that the Supreme Court will call themselves to order, because only God knows what may happen in Kano if the Kano people feel that their mandate is taken away from them.
Yes,
only God knows. Only God knows. Only God knows. They will do it in Kano and they will go scot-free. It's only in the southeast that it will happen, and they blame it to people who are fighting for Biafra. Only God knows what will happen if the Kano people feel that their mandate had been stolen from them. That's the way I'll address the issue of the judgment coming out tomorrow. It's not the final, so it's not a beef. The same thing with what will start happening in Lagos tomorrow. The case of election petition and litigations between the PDP and the Labour Party in Enugu State. Lagos will start hearing it from tomorrow. Hopefully, within 1 week or 2 weeks, they will deliver their judgment. We don't know where it's going, but we have seen the deluge of judgments given by the appeal court on issue of forgery specifically in recent time at the National Assembly level. We don't know what the Supreme Court will say, what the appeal court will say in Lagos, but as I said also, it's all going to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court. My fear is, according to what Sheun said this night and Chidi Odinkalo, the biggest corruption seems to be happening at that highest level, holy of the judiciary. So what can I say? We cross our arms and we wait for the Supreme Court. That is it.
Yeah, Doc, I just wanted to add this for the upcoming elections that will be holding in places like Imo, Kogi, and Bayelsa. Like I told you guys the other day that the INEC chairman has come out to promise the masses, especially those in Bayelsa State, that this election is going to be credible. And people were like, on the social media, that you should believe this man to your own detriment, at your own risk. So, but what I wanted to say is that with the kind of ruling that has come from the Supreme Court, it means that the beavers is going to be of no consequence. It's going to be of no use. Though they might use it, but I tell you, at the end of the day, the importance has been reduced to almost zero, even the IREF, from this final ruling that came from the Supreme Court. So many things, there are so many controversies out there. People are not even sure on how to protect their votes after casting it, because you might end up hearing them saying they are not going to use beavers, or they are not going to even upload. These things are not clear. INEC is not really making some things very, very plain for the ordinary people to understand. So the governorship candidate for Imo State came out and was telling INEC to come out clean, because there's this INEC office that got burnt. So they don't really know where INEC is going to collate in at this moment. And they just have few days to the election. So he was saying that INEC is not really giving them all the necessary information. Things are not being clear, which is to the advantage of Governor Hope Uzodinma, because he is the incumbent governor. He can take advantage of, he has the police in his hand, he has the rec in the state and all that. So anything that is not clear is not to the advantage of other political parties. Rather, the ruling party will be the one to take advantage of that. So I really wanted to make that clear, that INEC is still not being straightforward despite what happened during the presidential election, and that calls for worry. And Doc, finally, I want us to look at...
Sorry, before you
Okay.
veer off from that place, how can you say you should trust INEC? Trust what? Where did he say that? In what audience? Was it stronger, more formal than what he said before presidential election? And they woke up and they jettisoned the whole thing? What are the specifics he mentioned that will even make people trust? And is his word stronger than the word of the Supreme Court, who told us that everything we have labored for is nonsense? Let me say this, Nigerians. Hope Uzodinma is going to be very, very brutal. He's going to come on all fronts. He just hosted the police conference where he was making a speech, and he was a special guest to this police conference the same week where they brutalized the NLC president. The REC was appointed by him. The resident electoral commissioner of Imo State was appointed by him. Okay? And now IREF is nothing. He is going to provide logistics for the people who will conduct the election that will determine his fate. He's going to use anything at his disposal. He will fight. To say fighting dirty is an understatement. I pray for the people of Imo State, to be honest. I specifically pray for those people who want to throw their life because of the ambition of one man called Hope Uzodinma.
So, Doc, I want us to look at this. You've seen that Sarah has sued the president for failure to probe this amount of money that has been missing from oil revenue. So, I just wanted to highlight this point because Peter Obi has always said that the government, people in government, they are aware of those stealing our oil. So you can see even the little revenue that is being made, look at the amount of money that is missing. And they were thinking that when this government comes in, they are going to be transparent and try to even probe the last administration. But they are not mentioning all these things. They are rather after going for borrowing. At the moment, they're already negotiating with World Bank and other places that they want to get money from. All this money you see, they want to buy yachts, they want to buy, these things are going to be borrowed. This money you are seeing, you and I will be the ones to pay it. The Nigerian people, the ordinary people, they will be the ones to pay. And you can see the rate of hunger in the land. Businesses are closing because of this exchange problem, the naira that is devaluing every day. Businesses are really feeling the bite hard. So you can imagine this government coming in and not even considering going to probe this oil theft that is setting Nigeria backward. And then this revenue that is missing. We know of so many ministers that the National Assembly has, some of them, they've called them and questioned them, and then you finally see that everything will just die down at the same time. They will not continue to the end of their investigation, and then whosoever is found culprit will be maybe jailed or whatever. So there are a lot of things. So this thing is just like a ring. I don't know. It's just like a ring. Once you come into office, especially if you smuggle your way through, you want to please all these people around you. This present government will not have the boldness to start probing all these past the people that were part of the past administration, because they are also the ones that helped him to get into power. Look at the man from Zamfara now. He is being accused of buying vehicles for bandits and doing the celebrating them and all that. And today he's the minister for defense. I mean, defense that has to do with security. Somebody that ate and dined and wined with bandits. He's now the one heading. I don't know, Doc. Please just come in here and let's so that we close for the day.
Well, how do you want me to come in? Will you probe yourself? You are saying APC will not have the boldness to probe APC. What are you talking? This is their retirement package that you want them to go and probe. Nobody's probing anybody. Nobody is probing anybody at all. You want APC to go and probe what happened in an APC state in Zamfara. Or, come on, or what happened in Kaduna State. When they will tell you, hey, boss, that's what we used to deliver you. Forget this thing. Move on. That's and then you say Neiti, Serap sue Tinubu. Sue them where? Which court? Nigerian judiciary. Fine. The case will get to Supreme Court. The Supreme Court will adjourn till 2029 and hit the gavel. Bam. Didn't Supreme Court adjourn the case of Imo State judgment? Election, they used the amount to say that APC did not field a candidate. And now the PDP went back to court and said, okay, if APC did not field a candidate, they shouldn't even be existing. Give us a mandate, interpret this and give us a mandate so that INEC can issue us certificate of return. They adjourned this since 2019 till date. Okay, the wrap. Continue. That's the way I end. When I said Nigeria is taken hostage, you need to understand the context. The whole institutions are hijacked. That's what it means. Nigerians, let's have a good week. Let's trust God. Thank you wherever you are.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you for your thoughts.
Yeah.
Thank you, viewers, for joining us. Thank you for staying with us. You can see that Nigeria really needs our prayers, honestly, because when it comes to leadership, we've gotten it wrong. I think leadership is just the only challenge Nigeria has today, because God has given us every other thing, but we have wrong managers. We have the wrong people managing the affairs of Nigeria. So let's just pray that the next election cycle will be a time of, let me say, redemption for Nigeria. So we want to appreciate you for joining us. Let's quickly take some of these comments.
Even the black box, there are people who interpret the content of black box, isn't it? But our own black box, it never get retrieved. It's like our black box get missed with every mishap. Unfortunately.
Honestly, this person really has a point, because somebody was, an economist was calling out the NNPC. Nobody knows if they are redeeming any revenue or not. In short, we don't even know why this, will I call it a body, why this NNPC exists. Because it's just like a means to bring in more corruption in Nigeria. They are not impacting on the economy. They are not helping the government. Even if they bring, my God, we have so much problem. I also wanted to say that there's this post that was trending on the social media about Dangote. I don't know. I think they are having some loggerhead, because normal Dangote's refinery is supposed to have started. MFLA told us that then that he has even paid, was it 70% of the money borrowed? So people are like saying that the thing has hooked him now. He's trying to see if the current government can spare him for some of the allegations people are bringing on him. So I think when we get enough information on that, I want us to really talk about Dangote, because people see that he has just monopolized the market. He's the only one that brings in some certain goods. Even when the borders were closed, he was free to go in and out with his goods to deliver to other countries. But I think there's a lot to that we still have to uncover, because he's making business very difficult in the Nigerian environment. He can't have competitors. Can you imagine such a market where you don't have competitors? One person is meant to supply some certain goods, and we are crying why the economy is bad. These are some of the things that we really have to fix. Doc, back to you on the comment.
Well, Yakubu is not planning to step down. Now, this thing I'm discussing this night is a mindset thing. If you understand the mindset these people are wearing, they are where their ideology is a settlement time for us. So Yakubu and his boys are settling themselves with INEC. The likes of Akpabio are settling themselves from the National Assembly. So who do you want to drop? Who do you want to step out? Everything we're shouting is not affecting them, because they see it as settlement time. That's why in the midst of everything, Nigeria are screaming and saying, the Chief Justice came to say that we are ranting in social media and anointed his son a judge. In the midst of the whole thing. In the midst of the whole thing, the executive just came in there and did what? And told us they are buying luxurious yachts for themselves. They're not feeling it, and they don't care. That's my guess. Let's call it off for tonight. It's past 1 hour. Shouldn't Brutai be behind bars? Who will put him behind bars? Who? The
Doc,
government.
I had wanted you to also look at what he said here, because I think he's making a point here.
Who are the forefront of attempting to hold the country's leaders accountable resides abroad. If not the likes of yourself, the issues would have slipped out of the limelight. I agree to a large extent. And maybe as we keep saying it, it's going to trickle down. You know, to be honest, I still believe that even if all of us are here, what P2B triggered is not nothing. It's not nothing. Just remember that there's also a massive investment people who are abroad have in Nigeria because of all the remittances we are making. It's something. It's something. State of emergency in Plateau when crisis occurred. He removed Diary and put Chris Musa in charge. Of course. But these ones wouldn't do it because he benefited them. Oh, yes. Tinubu is renovating Northern Barracks because soon it will serve as the seat of power for the Dua nation. Tinubu will divide Nigeria. Okay. Oh, my goodness. Oh,
Yeah.
that's
So
what I thought. The opposition should do something with urgent attention. There's actually no opposition in Nigeria. I'm sorry to say that. There is no opposition. I hope we'll do one program one day when we are going to be here. And the title will just be The Hypocrites Who Call Themselves Labour Party Oppositions. Labour Party, because I'm not even calling PDP opposition. I am so disappointed with the Labour Party representative, especially with the appointment of President Electoral Commissioners, where they all sat like this in the Senate and said nothing and did nothing. They are an accomplice. Very, very disappointed. Many of them rode on the back of P2B to power, and the true color of who they are will manifest. Like that song says, P2B carry me, they go. I'm not a Labour man, I'm not a PC man, I am not a PDP man. I just saw a politician who I believe in his values. And listen, because in Nigeria, you must run through a political party. That's one. And number two, Nigeria's president is, by constitution, the most powerful president in the whole of the democracy in the world. Why? For instance, if you look at American constitution, the power of the president is in the presidency. But here, the constitution gives the power to the president, meaning the man himself is wearing the power. But in America, the man is sitting in the power. So if you are a president in Nigeria, and you're a good man, oh my goodness, you can actually turn this nation around in less than 6 months. Just as you can see how the jaundiced political party we brought to power has turned us around in the past 6 months after wrecking us for the previous 8 years. So if independent person can run without a political party, the likes of P2B could have run without a political party and he will win. So this doesn't mean the rest of the Labour Party members are like him. Exactly. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. Many of them ran on his shoulder. Labour Party to power.
yes, Doc, you know, these politicians, like I read on the social media today, there's this man from PDP who wants to now move over to the APC from National Assembly. So
Of
you
course.
can see most of them just want to get there at all costs. Then when they get there, they will want to find their ways. Don't be surprised. Some of those that used the platform of the Labour Party to contest, they might end up leaving the Labour Party.
Of
But
course.
anyway, we are not worried about
The
that. All we want to see is a new Nigeria.
guy that was the NMPP governorship candidate in Bauchi State, just after the May election, he has come back to APC. After he lost for governorship, he has gone back to APC. It's not so. There's no opposition yet in Nigeria. We are the opposition. The non-aligned Nigerians, non-political party aligned Nigerians are the opposition. We are the opposition. That's all. Good night, all. Bye.
Thank you, Doc. Good
Thank you.
night. Thank you, our wonderful viewers. Thank you very much for staying with us till now. Please give us a like so that YouTube can recommend this video for more people to watch. And don't forget to subscribe in case you've not, and turn on the notification bell for future updates. You can also buy us a cup of coffee, like I also always ask. A sticker is down there. And click to give us a super sticker or a super thanks. Or you can also join the channel community. There is a join button down there. You can join and let's build a stronger community. I want to say thank you for being a part of this live show. See you again, same time tomorrow. Good night.